Happy Tuesday and welcome to the latest edition of Learning LinkedIn. I am Matt Wolf, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. You may notice if you've been following us previously that Jill Haber is not here. Jill has thankfully found a full-time opportunity and is now working. So very excited and happy for her that she has found that she was the inspiration for all of this. And we have a couple of great candidates today who are going to talk about what they're looking for and their previous job experience. If you are listening and watching, join in with the comments, ask some questions. Please share some resources. If you're interested in coming on the show and being highlighted, we still have some slots towards the end of today's program. Or if you know someone who's looking, let them know that this is a thing and have them reach out, and we'll be happy to bring them on the next episode if they can't make it for this episode. So, with that being said, I want to give our disclaimer that I am not a professional. I am just giving my personal advice, and everything that people say here, you should definitely look into it yourself from a legal standpoint. And but we've done a bunch of these. This is the ninth one. Really hard to believe that. But so I think we've had some pretty good advice and some pretty good resources that have been told, and people have gone back to work. Thankfully, still too many people out there looking for jobs. A lot of great jobs. I encourage you to look at lilearningsession.com. That has all of the archives, previous sessions. Check out the panelists. We have some PowerPoint that gives some excellent tips on job searching and networking. And I think we're going to have another great show today. We're going to start it off with Jason. Jason, welcome to the show here. Tell everybody who you are, where you're at, and what you're looking for.
Awesome. And first, I want to start by thanking Matt. You are one of, I think of a select few of folks who are really trying to network and trying to share these opportunities with people like me who, mid 40s and never thought I'd be in this spot, but life happens. We can't thank you enough for being a resource. And I know I speak for a lot of people out there, so I appreciate that. My name's Jason Guy. I am in suburban Philadelphia, about 25 miles outside of the city, near, Valley Forge, King of Prussia area. Lived in this area since 2008. I'm a New Englander, born and raised in Rhode Island. Most of my family's still up there. And the path that I took to Philly was kind of a crazy one. Went to school in Connecticut, grad school in DC at GW, worked for the WNBA. One of the teams in the league, worked for the NBA, moved down to Philly for love, got a job working at Aramark, big, obviously, services company here in Philly, and then worked at Citizens Bank. And my most recent job, which was eliminated as part of, kind of a COVID cut, ended in October, where I worked for the Mann Center for the Performing Arts. I was VP of Business and Corporate Development there. Great concert venue. Right in Center City, Philadelphia, one of those where you get, about 7,000 or so folks underneath an overhang, and then you got a big giant lawn. So that's where I was. Loved people, loved talking to people. I'm a handshaker, I'm a hugger, like to connect with people. And that's what I've missed, job or not, for the first part of this COVID craziness is, the hug turned into the fist pump and the elbow pump, and that kind of stuff makes me crazy because I'm such a people person. But you learn to kind of live with it. I love sports. That's what makes me tick. I'm a fan. This is one of the few times that I'm not wearing something with a sports logo. I guess Under Armour is considered that. Big New England sports fan, but big fan of all the kind of major sports and WNBA also. And that's what I've been kind of working in. The only role that I've ever had that had nothing to do with sports was the most recent one at the Mann, and we judged our wins and losses a little bit differently, but it still was that, kind of entertainment venue. And that's really what makes me tick. Been looking to get back into sports. It was a little down, obviously, when there weren't any sports and then there weren't any fans. And now I've seen, as you, Matt, and others who might be joining this, stuff is starting to come up, right? And it's encouraging for somebody like me who wants to get back into it. I will say that, everybody who says it's hard to don't leave sports because it's hard to get back in once you're out. It's true. And I got all the contacts in the world, but it's just harder to get back into that network. So it's fine. It is what it is, but that's really what makes me tick. But I've also learned to get creative in this time and to kind of make your own opportunities. And, last thing I'll say as sort of my opening here is my wife and I actually became small business owners during this pandemic. On March 13th, the day the world shut down, we went and signed a lease to open up a boutique fitness studio here in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. It's called Stretch Lab. It's a franchise. We do hands-on, one-on-one assisted stretching. It's kind of my plug. But in addition to kind of the business side of things, learned so much about sales, really refined my sales skills, my sales pitch, my confidence, because I was not cold calling, but pretty close. Calling little old ladies who didn't know their phone from their landline from their cell phone, and calling 18-year-olds who were on Facebook in the middle of the night and clicked on stretching because they play lacrosse. So it really kind of knocked down a lot of those barriers for me, and it gave me a lot of confidence, even at the age I'm at now, with some miles behind me, to get out there, and also leadership. So it's been it's been kind of our blessing in disguise. But we're in a good place with our franchise now, and it's time for me to get back and kind of follow through with the career path that I was on pre-COVID.
Yeah. So the sports and entertainment are really, they're really meshed together, especially now, and that's the trend for it. So I think, being in the entertainment and at a center, really not a whole lot different than being with a sports organization from a sales point of view. And if you're not, you're not a player and you're not doing anything strategic on the field, but the sports has always been a tough industry to get into, even if you've never been into it, because a lot of people don't leave. Now we see a lot of people have left, a lot of it due to no fault of their own, and it's even that more competitive. But everything's very competitive now, so that's why we have these type of shows to talk about what can we do to put ourselves ahead of the other people who we might be competing with for these jobs. And I think putting together a franchise and then being a small business owner, it's a great way to fill the gap in your resume. And by the way, we've talked about this before. There's no shame in having a gap in your resume, especially with COVID. You say I'm unemployed due to COVID. It's really nobody's business why you have a gap anyway. I once had a gap because I was taking care of my grandmother. People have all different kinds of. Maybe you just needed a mental break. It's really no one's business. It shouldn't be harped upon by anyone. But let's talk about your ideal job. You want to work in sports.
Yeah.
What is an ideal job description for you? And then we'll talk about some of the stuff that you've done that applies to that, and maybe talk about some companies that you ideally would like to work for.
Yeah. I love being on the client side. I think I'm really strategic as far as where to put, kind of your logo, your assets, and, give you an example of, you have an opportunity that you pay a naming rights fee, let's say, not you're not the naming rights for the whole ballpark necessarily, or the whole event, but you own a piece of it, right? And so we're having to decide, where does our logo go? Where's our presence? Well, we can be at the finish line, and we can be, everybody talks about the finish line, and that's where they're getting their olive branch and they're drinking their milk after they win the Indy 500 stuff, right? But there's like 1,000 logos on that backdrop of that finish line. And so you look at that opportunity and you say, hey, look, maybe for the same investment, but maybe not at the finish line, so to speak, we can own an entire piece of this puzzle and be the only show in town. So that's kind of the strategy that I've learned on the client side, on spending the company's money, and being strategic about where I spend that money. And then on the what I call the property side, folks who are actually, being sponsored, so to speak, I enjoy that side as well, because you're really in it. You're really being true to your own self, to your own brand. It's your house, and you get to decide kind of how to decorate it, so to speak. And what I tell folks, I've had less experience on the property side than I have on the client side, but I tell folks when I'm interviewing, look, I was as rigorous and detailed a partner as you can be when I've done on the client side of things, because I wanted to make sure that my logo and my brand was where it needed to be. So if I'm on the other side of this, there's no question that I haven't heard yet, right? I know the answers to it, so I'm not going to be kind of pushed around, so to speak, by maybe a difficult, client who's asking for too much. In fact, I love those conversations. I think that that's a strength of mine, is to be able to find a middle ground and find something that not only works for the guy that is signing my checks, but also for the venue, because that's why the word partner is in these relationships.
Yeah.
So dream job is being out there, being really mindful, in an arena, at a ballpark, at a stadium, at a venue where I'm there and I'm feeling the energy of what's going on, whatever the sport or the activity is. But really looking at that game or that performance in a different way, and looking at the kind of the dasher boards, and looking at the signage on the scoreboard, and deciding, what is going to resonate with a fan in the stands in between innings, that's going to keep them to keep them sitting in their seat instead of getting up and going and grab a beer. And that's what I love. I thrive on it. I always tell people my favorite part of any sporting event, as I've gotten older, I've done this for a bunch of years, is right when the building opens, if not sooner. You're in there, you're the only person in there, it's quiet, the seats are empty, and you're kind of looking around and saying, all right, what is our plan today? How are we going to make this happen? And then it comes to fruition.
Yeah. So, you did business development at the Mann Center. That everything you're describing is business development. I wrote an article about this. Is it sponsorship? Is it partnership? They like to use the word partnership. I think it's more sponsorship. Regardless, sure. It's still, a sales type of role, but also, the creative side that you said is trying to come up with good solutions for these partners where they can see the value in the money that they're spending and engage with their audience, potential customers.
It's all sales. Everything, like, this is sales right here. This is the ultimate sales. You're selling the product that means more to you than anything else. And if it doesn't, then that's a whole other conversation, right? You're selling yourself, and you're selling your skills, and you're talking about how, just because, my last thing was at a concert venue. Before that, I worked at a bank. And before that, I worked at a, $22 billion a year personal industry services company. Those skills are transferable across the board. If you can sell, and if you can believe in the product that you're selling, you're going to be, successful. And it's funny because I'm saying this in the third person,
right?
But I've been saying this in the first person to the mirror since, October, and before that.
Yeah, we had Justin Guarini on the Wolf Den today, and he is he's got a remarkable career, but he's doing a book and a program on confidence, and that's really what a lot of this is. People go into an interview and they're confident in who they are, and it really shows. A lot of people have great experience, but at the end of the day, if you're in an interview, I don't know what you're going to be like when you come to work for me. So I'm trusting that you know what you're doing, and that you're going to be a good fit for this, and that's based on the information that you're giving me. That's why resumes, everyone fluffs their resume. You can write whatever you want, but in having conversations and talking about what you want to do and how you do it, and maybe some problems that you've solved, I think that's what is really going to make you stand out from other people. And just hearing some of the ways that you talk about what you've done and what you've wanted to do, I think is really shows that you're a good fit for that type of position. Have you looked at like Learfield or IMG properties for colleges?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I have. There's been a couple things open. So weird. I had a kid that interned for me forever ago who was working at Temple, working in Learfield, and we were trying to get the band back together, so to speak. I would love, when I first got out of grad school, actually when I first graduated college, I interned at the Big East Conference for a year, and that was when it was based in Providence, and that was what, again, an older guy like me calls it the real Big East, like the Georgetown, the St. John's, that's like the real Big East to me. I interned there for a year. My last event that I saw there was, just to date myself, was Ray Allen guarding Allen Iverson at midcourt in the Big East Conference Championship game. So that you can figure out how old I am. And then I worked as an SID for a sports information director for small colleges. So I would love to get back into the college scene. I've seen the Learfield stuff. Definitely, they have a ton of things open. Their general management positions, and I do have my eye on that. In fact, something it's a little bit lower than I would look at. Something just opened up at Rutgers actually recently. If anyone who happens to look at this is located in this area, but IMG I'm less connected to. But and then I actually looked at ASM Global, who is tied into IMG as well, and have some good contacts there. Right down the street in Conshohocken, right near where I live too. So I've definitely, and that's the other thing too. And I'd love to get your thoughts on too. Is it's like fishing, right? You get all these. I've gotten so many nibbles, right? And and for a variety of reasons, things happen. I hire people all the time too, and I know it takes a while. Just trying to continue to stay positive and see these opportunities and take them as far as I can go. And then if they don't work out, then you move to the next opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be unemployed forever. That was always my attitude. I had a long stretch of being unemployed back in the day before I actually got into the last job that I had. And so that's what it's about. It's about being positive. It's about being proactive, and stuff that you're doing, like putting together a small business. We hear about people taking on jobs or even just doing some temporary work or volunteering. Yeah. It's not as much now, but there were a lot of webinars with organizations like an Intix, like an EAMC, who might have people who are connected to these arenas and venues for you. I'm pretty sure there are people at the Mann Center as involved in Intix. What's been very helpful for you that maybe you can share with the audience in your job search?
Yeah. Well, first of all, like you said, you're not the only person, right? And you got to find ways of support. I was never a big LinkedIn guy before this, and it's the first words that I said, and I mean it genuinely. There are so few folks. Right? There's a lot of folks like you, I think, Matt, that are doing this, but you guys should be recognized. I have some great contacts out there who they'll just put a post up about something. They're in Philadelphia about a post that's something in Los Angeles, and they don't care. They're putting it up there because somebody in LA that's on their network is going to see it and they're looking for a job. And so that's been really encouraging. It's almost become a fraternity of sorts of folks who are kind of out there, the kind of open to work piece. I don't believe that there is much of a stigma, right now. I think that this whole thing has taught us to try to be picky. Everybody needs a push, and it's given a lot of us, that push. So I haven't gotten necessarily discouraged. Antsy, I guess, is a better word. Trying to, I got my wife is, downstairs. She's been working throughout this. I got 2 little kids running around. They looked at me today and they're like, "Ooh, big meeting today," because I had a polo and shorts on, which I don't know what that says about me, but
we're very casual here on these shows, but it's
I'll tell you a funny story. I interviewed with ASM Global and was interviewing with their chief revenue officer, and we had a great conversation. This was a couple months ago, and this was like a big one, right? So I actually put a shirt and tie on and a blazer, and he got on the thing and he had like a dry fit shirt on, and he's like, "Don't even just stop with the tie," And he was being nice about it. He goes, "You're going to tell me right now you have shorts on below that desk?" And I'm like, "I don't have shorts on, but I don't have suit pants on." And that's something that's interesting, right? Is this whole kind of, when you go back to, where do you want to work? Do I want to go back to an office that's a stuffy building with no windows? I don't know.
It depends, but that's a good segue because you having a wife and 2 little kids, you're really looking for something in the area or remote, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and I think I've looked at some stuff in New York City and in DC. I have some ties there and some roots there from previous jobs. And the reason I look there is if we get to the point in the conversation where I could say, look, I'll give you 3 days a week in the city. I'll drive down, I'll do the train down, that's fine. And I do believe that nowadays it's proven that you don't need to be in that spot for 5 days a week. And I think most employers are upfront about that as well.
Well, I think you lose out on a lot of great candidates by being, I would use the word stubborn to say you need to force someone there. And that just, in my opinion, goes along with trust. Obviously, there's certain positions you need someone there. It just depends if there's a game day or a thing. But yeah, and that's not to say that if you, that's not to say, no, that's
my coworker just walked in the room.
Live TV and Zoom. That's how we do it.
That's right.
We've had a lot worse happen on my shows. I promise you that. It's not to say that if you say, hey, I want to stay where I'm at and be local and be remote, that if this great opportunity came that you wouldn't maybe be able to be flexible, but hopefully the organization would be flexible because they recognize the type of candidate that you're going to be, and it's worth it. I always say that, the COVID layoffs, there's a lot of companies that are going to be wishing they didn't lay people off because people are leaving the industry. They're leaving the job, and even if they come back, they got one foot out the door. And even if they're just as good as whoever you just left, which is unlikely, there's a ramp up period. And who loses out on that is the people who are working there because they got to do more work, and the fan and the audience and the attendees and the event goers, because they're getting less. The customer service is getting worse, and it's not necessarily because there's not it could be there are not enough people. It could be that they didn't hire and say, all right, well, we had 3 people doing this, but now we'll have 2, and so it's tough.
And and that's not, I get that. That's going to come back at you at some point, though. It's going to come back with morale. It's going to come back with burnout, right? And then instead of and I get that you'd rather have someone kind of internal sometimes because it eliminates the onboarding process and that time. But if you downsize and you have 1 person or 2 people doing the job of 3, but then what happens if you lose one of those people? Now you're hiring 2 brand new people that you have to onboard, and you've totally diluted yourself during that time, and that's tough. But I get it. I get why those decisions are being made.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I'm grateful that I didn't have to make any of those decisions. The COVID has been great for me, and it's been bad, all at the same time. The event world is I'm glad to be going back to some events. I'm a little concerned and anxious about it, but I think people should move full speed ahead and find the right people, and then figure out how to keep those people and keep moving forward. We have a couple more guests on here, so we're going to let you go. Anything else you'd like to share with yourself and your skills before we do?
No, and again, I appreciate the time. Great networker, connector. You're gonna, find somebody who's always positive, really well put together to join a team. So hit me up. I'm happy to talk and happy to, kind of even share some experiences that I've had that we didn't talk about today. I do appreciate the time today, and let's get rid of that little logo on the bottom of my thing that says "Open to Work."
Yeah, that would be great. But we wish you the best of luck. We're gonna share this and tag and hashtag and see if we can't get some activity going. But really appreciate you coming on here, and I think you're gonna land on your feet in a good situation. It's gonna be worth the wait. So thanks for joining. We're gonna let you go and bring on Daniel to the conversation. Thanks, Jason. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being patient and joining us from the start. So let's start with a quick introduction of who you are, where you're at, and kind of what you do and what you're looking for.
Sure, yeah. My name is Daniel Kramer. I have a small design studio called the Visceral Glitch, and we primarily work in the music industry. I'm an art director, motion designer, and I work on album promos and lyric videos and Spotify canvases. Just recently, I was the art director for the A2IM Libera Awards, which was an independent award ceremony, and the show was all motion graphics based. So we had like 30 categories, 8 live performances, a couple Lifetime Achievement Awards. And so I'm trying to work in the music space. I come from advertising. I've been working in, I'm based in Brooklyn. And so I've been working in the city for the past 10 years across a variety of places, including like Complex, Rolling Stone, JP Morgan Chase. I was an art director for Mike Bloomberg's presidential campaign. And before that, before I got into graphics and design, I worked as a BBC radio documentary producer. So I kind of have a combination of music and design, and I wanted to pull those things together to create an art studio to help promote music, because I saw, when bands releasing new albums, that there's a lot of, you've got these beautiful reissues coming out, and there's just like this kind of ugly product shot across social media, let people know about it. And I think that can be taken to a different level. And so that's what I want to do. I'm a storyteller, I'm a designer, I'm an animator. And I love connecting with people and sort of sharing stories.
Yeah, so you and I met at Music Tectonics. Is that how we met?
Yeah, I think that's where we met, yeah.
Yeah, it was a conference that we were a part of. We did a name badge that they sent out to their people in a virtual conference. And so Daniel and I met in the speed networking portion of that conference, and glad to have you on here. So are you looking to sort of be a consultant, or are you looking to go full-time with an organization? And either one is fine, or both.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of both. I mean, what I would, I would love to work for a label full-time as an art director, and work on their catalog of stuff. But in the meantime, I sort of created my own space for that. Right. And there's been up times and down times. Last year, I produced a live stream show called Undercover, where we got 2 bands to come on. They played original songs and covered each other as well, the other bands. And that went well, but that was hard to monetize. So we had one season, we had 8 episodes, which was great, but then we couldn't really carry that forward because we didn't have a sponsorship deal for that.
Right.
So part of it is just kind of a lot of pivoting, sort of figuring out like, all right, seeing what works, move on to something, try something else, then try something else,
Yeah. You talked about a lot of stuff that I don't know about because I'm not a technical person. But let's talk about some of the software and programs that you work with to show what you can do.
Sure. Yeah. I mostly use Adobe After Effects for my animation, and I prep things in Photoshop and Illustrator. I also have a really successful Instagram account where I make glitch art, and I do all that on the phone, and I'm on the verge of going into NFTs as well to sell that. But yeah, those are the programs that I use. I work from home. I've worked in studios. My field, it's a lot of, there are full times, but there's a lot of short-term gigs. So I'm used to working from home as well as like being in new offices and new spaces.
Right. So sort of projects from project to project, and could go from one label to another. It could be the same label with different projects and working on that. I'm assuming you've reached out to labels. Do you have any specific labels that you would love to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I've done work for Mute Records in the past, and I would love to do something like anything with the Beggars Group or Universal Records or Sub Pop, or I've got some feelers out for some stuff, but it's hard to get labels to see the validity of what I'm doing, because they're stuck in an old mentality of, we're going to release an album, we're going to promote it this way. But really, artists have to be very strong and very visual online now. And in order to break new artists, you can't just do cookie cutter stuff. You have to make it unique to the artist, but you have to make it more than just a product shot.
Right.
And it's hard for labels, I think, to see the validity in that, to spend the time and the effort to make something unique and exceptional for their artists that they're trying to sell.
Yeah, a lot of times they're just kind of banking on who someone is and the fact that it's new to sell, and they don't really care so much. We get into that in the ticket world where I'm at, where it's like, all right, we have a ticket, it doesn't matter what it looks like. And to some extent, it might be true. People are going to buy it, but there is a feel that people have as they're watching and looking at it, different than if it's just some kind of, generic photo album. I mean, it's sort of why there used to be music videos, and people are still doing some videos now, but it's,
Yeah, it's taken up a level. And I agree with you with the ticket. I mean, I got a book of tickets, and my favorite tickets are the ones that are unique. That's not just like the Ticketmaster one or
right.
this one. It's like, those are fine, but like, it's a nice little piece of memorabilia. And I think that's something that needs to be elevated, because music and sports and all that stuff, it means something to people. And it's like a little takeaway that you get to take home with you.
Yeah. I think, the phrase, you can't judge a book by its cover, the meaning behind it, I understand. But the reality is I judge a lot of books by its cover, whether it's a cover for an actual book, or it's an album cover, or it's, a lot of different things. So we do judge a book by its cover. And so making a better story on a cover, or making it more visually appealing, is very important. So to have the type of experience that you have doing that, I think it'd really be helpful for, obviously, album and record labels, but there's a lot of other products that could use it as well.
Oh, sure. Everything uses it. In the city, one of my specialties was infographic explainer videos and sizzle reels, and that stuff's always getting used, and that gets used across the board. I decided to specialize in music because it's where my passion is. It's kind of what I've been in and around really since I graduated university, for the past 25 years. I've always had music in some capacity in my life.
Right.
And I'm always meeting the music people.
You have a guitar back there. Do you play?
I do. I do. I've actually just started learning because I didn't play. I wasn't really I was in some music projects a long time ago, but I've just started playing. But I'm a big collector of music, as you can see from the records, and I've got like a massive collection of records, and it's important. I think that music means something to me, and I want to help keep that going. So I support that industry by buying records, by going to shows, by talking about music. And I think that I have a lot to contribute. When I had my show, I gave 16 bands a chance to play that weren't going to play anywhere else. I gave people home concerts that couldn't get to shows. We raised money that went to musicians who needed it. So there was a lot of giving and a lot of pluses with that.
Yeah, and it's good experience too. I mean, you have to do something to advance your skills and to keep yourself busy and sane. And so,
yeah.
what else did you do during the pandemic? But what in the time of your job search has been a great resource for you? Any resources that maybe people might not know about, or maybe it's something that everyone's doing that you endorse?
I don't know. I mean, for what I'm looking for, it's pretty specific. So, for me, it's just sort of like following up on leads, because you never know where things are going to go to. So I always say, take the call, take the meeting, have the conversation, because you never know where that could possibly lead to. And I think that's something, I think sometimes people are hesitant on it. They're like, oh, well, I better not apply for this because I probably won't get it. And you might not get it, but then at least you've had the experience and thought behind it. You might get it as well. Sometimes it's the process of doing it that maybe inspires you to do something else. And I'd say the biggest thing is to keep busy. I started my Instagram account in times of low work, and I became a real forerunner of glitch type aesthetic on Instagram, where I was kind of very much ahead of the curve, and people coming to me and asking me like how I did this stuff, and I really inspired them. And that was something I just picked up and started to do on my phone. And now I'm looking at getting into NFTs to sell that. And I was about to sell, but I had some kind of bumps in the road. So like as soon as those get sorted out, like I'm going to do that. But that can also be a way of money. So sometimes what starts off as a hobby or something, it can lead to new experiences. And also through that, like from doing the Instagram account, I've had bands reach out to me and say, oh, we really like what you're doing. Can we use your photos for our album covers? You know, and I'm like, wow, that I'm always kind of surprised by that and really flattered by that, because I'm making something not to do it for them. I'm making it for myself. And then people come back and I've inspired people and it pulls people in. You know?
Yeah, I think the passion of it really will show in your work. And that's not to say that you absolutely have to have a passion for what you're doing. I've been successful in selling things I wasn't really that passionate about, but it makes you, I think it makes you sell better, sell yourself better, do the product better, or whatever your job is. And it makes you happier. And as you're happier, that really, contributes to the longevity of it and the ability to really do this. So 5 years from now, you're not burnt out about it because, you don't really like doing this on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, well, you care about it.
Yeah.
And because you care about it, you're going to give it your all. You're going to take it to the best possible level because, quite frankly, you give a shit. And if you don't really care about what you're doing, then, yeah, you can go through the motions, but it's not going to mean as much to you.
Yeah. What the stuff that you do, it's the same as everything else. There's a lot of job descriptions and job titles that everything can fall under. Share some obviously art director, but share some other job titles that you think are relevant to what you're doing that's out there. So if someone hears of it, they might be able to say, hey, I heard about this.
Sure. I mean, art director, motion designer, producer, live events, pre-recorded events, consultant. That's what, I've got a website that you guys can check out, thevisceralglitch.com. And we're also on Instagram and on TikTok. And like I said, those have been like really good resources to just keep making things. I think that's something that when people, when they're between jobs and they don't really know what to do, I think if you make something, you feel like you've got a sense of accomplishment. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're between jobs and you're not getting the interviews. You don't feel like you've accomplished anything. And if you can find a way to give yourself a sense of accomplishment, then it makes you feel better because you feel like, all right, well, at least I've done that.
I agree.
Yeah.
You reminded me too. I forgot to put Jason's LinkedIn up there, but connect with Jason if you want to hear more about what he does, or if you think someone who could help him, or if you just want to connect him because you like what he had to say and you think it'd be you guys could have some conversation. And then we'll get your your Instagram is the Visceral Glitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the website is thevisceralglitch.com. And I don't just do glitch style.
No.
That sort of became that was like the starting point. I kind of started the glitch style when I was at Complex. I was an art director on a channel oddly called Hustle, which was about sort of entrepreneurs. And I did a lot of infographics for them. And then we worked on a film there.
We'll throw up your link tree. Complex is, they're the ones who do the Complex Land. When were you working? Complex Con, but they did a Complex Land, which was a virtual kind of, I don't know,
thing.
Drop. Yeah, it was a virtual thing. Been trying to talk to them. They just got bought out by someone. But here's your link tree, which can get you all the information. So link tree, the Visceral Glitch, but the website is Visceral Glitch. Instagram is Visceral Glitch. Visceral. You can't say that 10 times fast.
Well,
Visceral.
you got to practice.
Yeah, I do have to practice. What does visceral glitch mean?
It actually means it means a shift in emotion.
Which describes what you do very well.
The name sort of came to me. I was out on a run one day, and it just kind of popped into my head. And I'm a big fan of the designer Von Oliver, who had done the 4AD album covers. He'd done like the Breeders and Bauhaus and Lush and people like that. And I really liked that word visceral. And then glitch became this sort of style and aesthetic, and the two just sort of like went to each other. They were like, all right, we're gonna combine into one word. And then I liked it. And then there's a whole there's a design aesthetic of like wabi sabi, where you sort of look at nature and you look at like the beauty of the imperfection, and just sort of everything in its natural state.
What type of music do you generally work on? Does it matter? Do you work on stuff that you kind of like to listen to, or what have you find yourself listening to in the music?
I mean, it doesn't really, I'm an indie rock kid, but I like good music, I like a variety of music. Like I just did a cover for Noel Gallagher for his last single. And that was something that just sort of came to me I became friends with his designer, and we had talked about doing a collaboration together. And I had given him some photographs of New York. He's based in the UK. And he put some stuff together and he gave it to Noel, and Noel went for it. He loved it. And then next thing you know, like I got a Noel Gallagher cover.
Yeah. I had someone on the Wolf Den who was talking about the Gallagher brothers, and now they're just never going to be back. And it was interesting.
No, they won't. I don't think they'll come back. I think Liam would, but I don't think Noel needs to.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to. I don't think he wants to.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I put your LinkedIn up here. We talked about your link tree and also your website. So if you know anyone looking for a creative art director or a motion designer, anything in the music world that has to do with being creative and art, check out Daniel. Anything else you want to share about the job search and what you're looking for and what you've done as some closing remarks as we bring Dana on?
No, just like I'm very open. I'm very easy. I'm very easy to work with. I'm very empathic to the projects that I'm working on. I feel what is the best process for it. And I want everything to sort of like shine. I want everything to sort of be as spectacular as possible. Yeah,
that's a good goal to have. Well, we appreciate you having on. Glad I connected.
Thank you so much for having me on.
At Music Tectonics, I think you're going to end up in a good situation. But it sounds like you're doing a lot of good stuff already. So no rush on just jumping into something just for the sake of jumping into it. I know a lot of people do that. I've done that in the past, and just it's good if you can afford to wait it out and kind of find. But also don't have to look for the perfect job, right? It's got to be, you can get into an organization or an industry or a job description with somewhere else and either move yourself up and then move over. There's a lot of ways to get to where you're going and want to go without, going for broke.
Yeah.
That's not to say you shouldn't go for broke. Aim high, apply to as much as you can, apply for jobs you don't think you're going to get, even though you're qualified for. Let them tell you that you're not qualified or you're overqualified. You just never know, especially in this environment. It's pretty weird times.
Yeah.
And just trying to navigate through it is I've been there, and I don't even know what I would have done if I was in there at this type of time with the type of competition that there is now. And there were a few jobs now that jobs are starting to open up a little bit more and people are hiring more. So that's a good sign. And we hope to hear some good news from you soon, but let us know how we can help. And great to have you on. We're going to bring Dana on to the show.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Dana here. Howard, you're on mute. I think you hit mute here.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. We do it all the time. So welcome to the show here. Tell everybody who you are, where you're at, what you do, what you're looking for, and we'll start there. You hit mute again.
Hi, my name is Dana Lyons. I'm a South Philadelphia resident, and I'm a recent graduate from Temple University. I got a degree in advertising, specifically account management, but I'm open to lots of other opportunities. Again, I just graduated in May, so I'm pretty much looking everywhere to find my best fit. I'm very much interested in music. Just like Daniel before talking, I could relate to a lot of things that he said, and breaking into a new field is kind of difficult, especially at this time. But, I'm doing my best to network, and honestly, this is my first video on LinkedIn. I didn't, I was also very new to LinkedIn for a while, but it's been really cool in recent months just to be able to connect and have people support me here.
Well, look, you're new to the scene. I mean, you just graduated, so
Yeah.
It's okay for you not to. When I graduated, I had LinkedIn because people said to have LinkedIn, and I tried to connect here and there, but I didn't really use it.
Yeah.
And, until I went all in and full time on my business, and then I've been
Right.
a LinkedIn nut ever since. But you're doing I've seen you with the interactions that you do. Just the fact that you're on here right now, I think is a good sign and showing the initiative that you're taking.
Yeah.
Understanding that, look, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to do what I need to do, which is more than a lot of other people are doing.
True.
And you can't just sit and wait. It's a competitive, and now you got all these new graduates and graduates from last year.
Yeah.
So I think you're in a good space and position right now. So let's talk a little bit about any experience that you have that you want to talk about, and then also maybe some maybe some dream jobs, maybe some perfect ideal companies.
Sure. So yeah, I've only had a few experiences in my related field with short internships. Those being the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I helped organize events and reached out to donors for that. So I'm interested in healthcare as well. I've been working with a couple music groups just to help promote their business, learning how to do websites, kind of consulting and looking for talent for them as well is something that I enjoy. What else have I done?
Are you taking courses for the website, or you're just kind of teaching yourself?
I'm teaching myself. Yeah.
It's a lot of people doing it, and it's a good thing.
Yeah. When I was in college, I was doing different types of courses because I feel like I'm more of a planner, a strategist, as opposed to a social media person. But yes, I'm trying to teach myself almost all the facets so I can get better opportunities. So Wix has been really good to use for a startup. I'm having success with that so far. I did.
Do you have your own website? I know you're working on how to build it.
I'm actually still working on my own.
Okay.
I know that that's one big thing maybe I could say to other students that may be listening. I think, at least for myself, I know that I'm focusing on other people's businesses and getting their word out and showing what I can do for them. But I haven't focused enough on showing who I am and what I have exactly. So
I think it helps, you're showing what you can do through other people, but certainly to have a website to show what you can do, even if it's a link tree or a regular website, I think would be helpful. But, again, you're new at this. So you don't have this huge portfolio that you want to share with people, but yet you still have stuff that you've worked on. And I think, with the other people's websites and through LinkedIn, there's a pretty good opportunity for you to share who you are and what you do.
Definitely. What else? Yeah, I mean, I've had several different jobs in the past, so I've kind of been not exactly a jack of all trades, but I don't like staying in something for too long.
Right.
I was in the veterinary field for about 10 years though, because I do have a love for animals. I'm even open to working in that sector, but in an, in an advertising perspective or promoting or marketing. Um,
So it is important to know you made a career change and decided to go back to school and take a chance, which I think is, I just talked about this to my friend the other day. I said, look, you're never too old to do what you want to do. And I mean, I don't mean this to say you're old.
No.
You're obviously younger than we are, but he's, in his mid 40s. And I said, if you want to do something, then go ahead and do it. It's a big risk. You got to be able to financially tackle it and handle it.
Sure.
And he has family and kids, and so there's a lot of other factors in that. But if that's what you want to do, then just go ahead and do it. And that's the big thing that stops. We talked about this yesterday on the Wolf Den is, people just can't get out of their own way. They just want to give yourself excuses why I shouldn't be doing this and why it's not going to work. And, I think you just got to go for it. I'm so glad that I did and pushed through when I probably 10 years ago, 5 years ago, would not have done that. So I think it's it shows character for you, which is a very big thing when people are looking to hire, and to say, hey, look, I've done this. I've made money doing this. I've had a career doing this. I've had good jobs doing this, but this is what I want to do. And someone who can identify that and actually take the chance and take the actions to go ahead and do it, I think it's huge when you're looking at candidates. Especially with people who don't have the experience, which you're looking to get. And it's always that catch-22 of, hey, you don't have enough experience. Well, how do I get the experience if people don't give me a chance?
Exactly.
So your situation is a little bit unique, I guess. Are you looking to stay in the area? Are you open to relocating? Is remote what you're looking for? And there's no wrong answers. I just think, putting your preference out there is always.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to travel somewhat, tri-state area, perhaps. I don't want to go too far from home, but we'll see. I would like to see the rest of the world. It is a crazy time right now, but I think it would be a good thing to do if possible. But yes, of course, I'm open to doing remote work if necessary. And also that way, like, I'm getting used to the technology and that we all need to use now. So, remote's not a bad thing as well.
Yeah. Well, you've been teaching yourself through Wix. Are there any other resources or things that you've done, advice that you can give to other people who are looking for work to either help their cause or maybe, keep their time, keep busy?
Honestly, I stay on LinkedIn. Even if you feel like people aren't getting back to you, like, keep trying. Again, for students, if you feel like, oh, well, they're just students too, so why am I going to talk to them? They're not the higher ups that I want to be with. It's stay within your network, because there's always a possibility of jumping ship to that person you want to get to. Learn as much as you can on your own, I suppose. I'm honestly not the best person to learn everything on my own, but I'm trying my best. The LinkedIn learnings are great. If you have time, they have like 15-minute quizzes. I'm going to do more of those to add to my profile. That really helps show what skills you do have. In regards to the website, it's just, it's trial and error. Just take your time, but it can be fun once you see it coming together, especially, for websites or any project. Just go step by step, Google everything, watch YouTube,
So much instruction out there.
Yeah.
I have a friend who could build a house and he learned to do all that stuff through YouTube. It's kind of crazy. Have you identified any companies that you would really like to work for?
So, it's,
we always, hey, look, on this show, we always encourage people to put it out in the universe. Listening, someone who's been there.
Yeah.
Jason talked about Temple. You went to Temple. I know people at Temple, so you never know.
Right. Yeah. Sony is a fan of mine. Like I said, I do have a big passion for music, even though it's not been fully in my background. I feel like I have some decent knowledge. Even having worked in the veterinary field, it gave me a lot of confidence to talk to different types of people and to really listen to what people want. and just following the scene and having musicians as friends, like, I don't know. I just feel like I could be a real asset to anyone's team if it's advertising, even the smallest sense, being an assistant to start, or, consulting, social media, whatever anyone would need, I would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, I think veterinarian is it's a lot of transferable skills. I mean, you're dealing with a patient that can't talk to you.
Yeah, you're right. You're very right.
Very tough to understand.
So yeah, I have a very analytical mindset, I could say. So yeah, I'm good in that way, and I have a creative side, but again, I'm not that graphic artist, director, or designer, but I'm good with words, logos, slogans, and just planning and helping get other people's messages out there.
But do you prefer the creative side as opposed to the business side of things?
I do. I like to do a little of both. I'm not afraid to step into anything, but I'm better on the creative side and planning.
Okay. What's behind on your wall? I see some signatures.
Oh, that is a drum head from a Motorhead show, the last Motorhead show in Philly. So it's signed by the band, Lemmy,
awesome,
Meister, and them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
I guess I should say that too. I'm, even though I'm not quite in that age bracket, I really like classic rock and metal. I feel like it's something that really boosts your attitude and keeps you going. And even like the nostalgia of it. So I appreciate your company as well. I think that's very cool to have memorabilia, especially today, because
we love memorabilia. We love souvenirs and stuff like that. I got a ton. I don't have as many autographs. I'm not as much into the autographs, but certainly if I had an opportunity, I would do it. But I love, an autograph on an item like that.
Right.
Really cool. I think autographs, not all autographs are created equally. You have something I have some baseball that are autographs, and maybe people have autographs on a ticket or a poster or a shirt, hat. I think it's better than just, at the Comic-Cons, they just have a generic photo that they sign.
Sure. Sure.
But it has some character. Has a great story too, I'm sure. Story of that.
But yeah, like I said, I'm very much into music. Any musicians, rock stars out there. I even once thought of being a vet tech to the rock stars, kind of, just trying to bridge together my experiences too, is just going from what I know. And I
think it's the great idea. I mean, there's so many things out there that you never even think of. Like when I first had a job at the ticket printing company, I had no idea this was a thing. Everyone thought Ticketmaster was a ticket company, and they just kind of did the tickets and that was it. And it opened your eyes. And as you do a job search and you start searching, you're like, I didn't even know this type of thing existed, or this company existed, or this event existed, or this job title. This is a job title, a job description. So what are some job titles, descriptions that would be ideal for you? We understand
right.
You have a wide range, but is there something at the top of mind that you think would be ideal from a job description title? That's
been a hard thing for me to do, especially when you're trying to, showcase yourself on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
The recent ones I've used, of course, I've been doing some freelance work, but administrative assistant, media coordinator, promotions coordinator, consultant. I would say social media, but again, I'm not that, I'm not looking to do that full time.
Look, being able to do websites, being able to help with social media is just extra value that you offer as a position. Not to say they're going to hire you to do two jobs, but it's just more value and another reason why you might have a leg up on someone else. I would encourage you to really drill down and target either companies and or titles, connect with people who have the type of job titles and descriptions that you would like, to see if you can get some advice from them.
I also briefly worked with Live Nation and NES as a security event staff for concerts, and
That's fun.
it was a good time. It was a good time, and actually, I learned a lot there too. So those companies as well. I do like. I haven't said I do like the live concert, live events sector, and I guess a dream job for me would be to actually own an agency own an agency and work inside of a venue. And the venue itself would be, I really think a multi-purpose venue, maybe especially for Philadelphia, would be great because it wouldn't be just concerts. It would be a chance for a lot of businesses to get off the ground or just communities to get together, you know?
Yeah, there's some great venues in the Philly area, some historic venues, and I mentioned to Jason, Intix and EAMC are a couple of organizations that I think could be helpful for you to maybe sit on some calls or reach out to some people who are in there to kind of find out how you can get involved.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of places that are looking for help too, and they're struggling, having struggles trying to find good employees who are looking for work, and those type of things are not necessarily remote. So now you're talking about, hey, I have to find someone in this area.
Yeah, it's
like a little bit more difficult for them.
I think the big word this past year has been pivoting. Like, all our venues, if we want to keep them open, we have to figure out how to use them differently. But, still keep the creativity and fun there,
Yeah. Well, look, I think you're doing some great things. I see the engagement that you're doing, which has been great. The fact that you're on this show, talking about what you want is only going to help. Even if it's just, I was talking to Jason before, even if it's just going to help you practice talking about what you like and what feels good. I would say that you're heading in the right direction. And if we can help in any way, you'll let us know. It's happy to connect you with Daniel and Jason. Great. Also, you guys are kind of in the same area and possibly can help each other, or might know someone who can help. Anything else you want to share? We put your LinkedIn up there. Is there any other way? Do you have a social media account that people can check out? Is it that helpful with your job search?
I know.
Just be a personal thing. They're going to find it anyway if you have a message. Always be careful what you put out there on social media as you're looking for work.
Right. At this time, I guess I could plug in for the Rockin' House, but you can find it on LinkedIn as well. But that's the website I just created for a music group.
And it's called?
And the Rockin' House. The
Rockin' House, right. Yeah, we talked about that before. Yeah, you can find it on the LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Connect with Dana. Reach out if you know anyone who is looking for someone like her who can add great value to the company and organization and is itching to show her skills in the music world. And I think it's going to be a good fit for you. I'm impressed that you decided to take that change, and timing was right. Obviously, timing is everything. But still, it's not an easy thing to do, to just jump and change up. And I applaud you for doing it, and I think it's gonna be a good reward for you.
Great.
See what happens. We're happy to help any way we can. As I said, let us know how you do. Hopefully, hearing some good news soon. Connect with everyone. We didn't have anyone in the comments today, and only 3 people wanting to show up and talk about themselves. Timing's a little bit off too. We do this in the middle of the week. But for people who aren't working, hopefully we can make it work. We'll keep doing this as long as people will still come on. It was worth the hour to just talk to you 3, because I think you all have a good resume and some good value to bring to the industry. And check out lilearningsession.com for our archives. There's great information, great people to connect with. Let me know if you're interested in joining the next one. Let me know if you want to connect with anyone who was on the show, but you can find them. We're going to post and tag and hashtag and see if we can't get some more visibility for Daniel, Jason, and Dana. And thank you, everyone, for your time today. And if you're watching this, thanks for your time and watching. And give it a like, a share, a comment. Let's get this out to as many people. I think someone said if 2 people share everything and two people share and two people share, that and it keeps doubling, not two people, you keep doubling up. It only takes like 20 times to hit 1 million, which is a crazy number to think about. But that's all we need is just clicking on the button. If it's not for you, we have someone who posts. If it's not for you, just click a button and let other people see it. We're going to have another one next month, I believe. I'm happy to have it as long as people will do it. So reach out if you're interested in being a part of. And I hope everyone finds what they're looking for. Be good to each other. Give people a chance. Look behind beyond just that someone's resume and the character of them, because I think you'll find you'll get a good person, a good employee, a good teammate, and that's what everyone needs. So have a great rest of the week, and we look forward to hearing some good news soon. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Daniel and Jason.
Stay healthy.
Yeah,
And
stay healthy.
keep chasing your dreams. Listen to what Matt says.
Listen to what a lot of other people said. I'm just forwarding the message. I didn't create it. But well said, Dana. Thank you.
Bye-bye.